What's up, it's George the Fragrance Press. Welcome back to another episode of Is It Still Good in 2019? Now, this one against Yves Saint Laurent's La Nuit de l'Homme. Not by much, actually only by 2 points, but it was enough. This one 7-5 against La Nuit de l'Homme, which really put into question a lot of things, because I think personally La Nuit de l'Homme is by far the superior fragrance to CH Men. But you know, you can either listen to me or you can listen to the people on the street, and ultimately you are buying these fragrances usually not for the likes of me, not to so that I will come over to you and smell you and go, oh, top marks, you're wearing that fragrance, you're wearing that connoisseur £250 blah, 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 blah. No, you're usually wearing it for just the regular Joe. So I wanted to do a Is It Still Good in 2019? You know how it goes, hopefully by now. We have 3 categories: reformulation, relevance and retail price. So let's crack in with the reformulation. So it's funny because I've had this for about 2 years now, or yeah, 2 years actually I've had this. And this is the reformulated version. This is not the original one that has the little ribbon. And even though I did not smell the original version, when I smell this and when I wear this, I can sense gaps. And the big thing is that when you put this on, the opening is absolutely delightful. It's this wonderful grassy and chocolatey, kind of tonka beanish, with a little hint of, a little slither of vanilla ice cream. And it's wonderful. It's absolutely lovely. However, after about an hour, maybe less actually, it just dries down to cocoa powder that you'd put in your hot drink, and it's incredibly disappointing. And there isn't really much projection, there isn't much longevity. When I did the battle video, I had it on and I would spray maybe every half an hour, respray half an hour, but there were people who smelt this on me half an hour into the dry down, and they still liked it. And I think that actually the dry down is one of the weaker elements, or one of the weakest elements of this fragrance, but people still seem to like that. For me, when it comes to reformulation, I think this is a very powerful opening, but there was some really good scent in here. It's obviously had a lot of elements that it had, and people have reported this when they compare the original and this version, but it's not all there. It does feel incomplete. It does feel as though it's been stripped of a few elements. So I would personally say that when it comes to a fragrance that smells as though it probably was better, and smells as though it had something about it and had something a little bit more concrete, a little bit more solid, but now is a little bit more watery, now is a little bit more weaker, I'd have to say that the reformulation is a thumbs down. Moving on to the relevance. It's weird because obviously it must be, you know, it did very well against La Nuit de l'Homme in that battle. People do seem to like it on the first hour that they can smell this on me. It is quite unique for what it is. It's got that green grassy vanilla chocolate thing, which I haven't really ever smelled in anything designer or niche. It's got something very different. It's got its own kind of unique space in the market, in the fragrance industry as it were, because there isn't really anything like this. I'm surprised that you know, Clone House hasn't really taken advantage of this scent DNA and really pumped it up and tried to return it to its former formulation, as they always usually do. But relevance, I'm gonna have to say that that's a thumbs up, because people really like it when people are wearing this around me in that first period of time that they can smell it. People do enjoy it. It is unique. It is something different. It is something that you definitely don't really see in a lot of designer fragrances at all. And it hasn't ever really been copied, and it hasn't ever really had any fragrances that are even trying to do the basics of what this fragrance is doing. So it is on its own, and it does very well in that respect. So when it comes to relevance, man, it's unique. What can you do? It's a thumbs up. So with that, let's get to my biggest issue, and that is the retail price. I think the retail price on this is absolutely abysmal, especially for something that will not last really on my skin past 2 or 3 hours. Now, I want to make something clear, and that is, you know, as I get more into this and I get older, I'm starting to realize that, you know, performance and you know, projection longevity actually is a lot more subjective than people really make it out. Obviously there are some fragrances that just are not going to last, and there are some fragrances that are really going to last because of their you know, their chemical makeup, because of the notes that they put in there, because of the larger and smaller aroma chemicals. But you know, I said recently, just a couple of weeks ago, Le Nuit de l'Homme really does last on me, and it does. It lasts a great deal. I have no complaints. It's just fantastic, and it can actually project really strong off of me. When I went to see Chris Fragmental, he has the reformulated version of Reflection Man. I put it on, I was just bursting out on the streets of York, right? I was just projecting, you know, the sillage cloud that I had, you know, almost had its own gravity well. It was just so large. However, this one does not last on me at all, but you've got to test it out. But would I ask you to buy a full bottle of this at the price that it is? I think that it's like 50, 55 pounds. No. 100ml is like pushing it to 80 sometimes, 90. You can occasionally get it on discounters, and I will show you everything that I saw on my Google search right here. But on average, this is a very pricey piece of fragrance, right? And I just cannot condone it, especially where I'm not really getting that much performance. The reformulation is real, the reformulation has happened, you know, they've changed the design, they've openly admitted that there's a reformulation that's happened, and yet they're pricing this over more conventional long-lasting fragrances such as 1 million. So the retail price for me has always been a joke. It hasn't even gone down. I remember buying this for £55 back in 2017, and I researched it. This year, it hasn't gone down. It should be going down, especially with the state that this fragrance is in. So that is going to be an absolute thumbs down for me. Overall, it's funny because this is basically, I'm saying to you right now, it's lost 2 out of 3. I'm saying to you, this is not good in 2019. This is not worth it. And I think that there are some fragrances that are a lot better than this. There are some fragrances that you can really get a lot more out of it. And funnily enough, one of them I would have recommended would have been Le Nuit de l'Homme, and especially Le Nuit de l'Homme Parfum, that has that kind of chocolatey, chocolate fudge brownie kind of smell that this has with the vanilla. But this did really well in the battle. People obviously still like this. People do enjoy it. So although I, from a objective, critical standpoint, will say to you, no, I don't think this is actually very good in 2019. I think it's had its run. I think it's had its hype. There's always more perspectives, and just for an average Joe, people are really going to like this. But the big problem that I still have is that although people do like it, they like it in the first hour when it projects, and there are lots of fragrances that you can get that people will like that are below £55 or £60 for 50 milliliter. You know, so there's many different things that you can say on that, but that is my opinion of that. Anyway, I hope that you got the information that you wanted. It's certainly a unique and interesting fragrance. But I hope that you got the information that you wanted. I will see you next week for another episode of Is It Still Good in 2019. But until then, I'll also be seeing you tomorrow. Anyway, I'm The Fragrance Price. I'll see you around. I'm out.